I'm selling most of my crypto soon. It's not clickbait, I really do that. And in this video, I would like to show you when, why, and at what price level. And of course, when I will get back into the market, because I'm not selling because I want to get out of crypto. I want to sell because I want to ride the best bull market ever. If you don't really understand what I mean, just keep watching. But yeah, some people probably already know what I mean. In the meantime, like the video, please, helps me a lot. Subscribe to the channel, turn the bell notification on, and let's take a look at what I'm looking at. So Bitcoin now, 40, I wanted to say 30, but we passed that, $41,600, extremely well. We had a great push to the upside, in all honesty, against my expectations, because what I've said, and so far I've been pretty wrong about that, is usually we have a pump and we retest the level that was previous resistance, right? We have a pump, we retest that previous level. So I expected a pump and a retest at least $32,000, right? We haven't retested that level. Now, I'm not saying that will never come. It looks likely to me that we will visit that level someday, but hey, it's for me at this point quite impossible to say like, yeah, is that going to be today, tomorrow, next week, next year? It does the unexpected so far. However, I must say the markets are getting overheated. The fear and greed index is super high. You know what they say: sell the fear, sell the greed, buy the fear, right? And a lot of people are now buying the greed. That's not how crypto works. So a lot of people are in for a surprise, in my opinion. And the Bitcoin dominance just made a new high as well. So although altcoins are doing decent, right, Bitcoin is the bigger mover. If you compare it to the collective altcoin market, the dominance just made a new high of 54.41%. We're now kind of sitting there. And that's what we talked about a lot. Like the dominance is probably going up towards 57, maybe 60%. I think that 60% could be in a wick, but does it seem like something we can break very clearly? But if you look how the dominance moves, then that's exactly where the resistance is sitting. And apart from that, it's the next big, support, previous support and resistance level. And it shows that although altcoins are moving, it's a handful. There are altcoins that are blowing up like crazy, but overall, they are not like really doing that well compared to Bitcoin. So it's still Bitcoin season. However, I want to take a look at something that shows us exactly, based on at least the cycles so far, what we can expect for Bitcoin, but in this case crypto in general, from now until and past the halving. Because if you know about this channel, you can't look at this channel without hearing the word correction in your head, right? Or dump, or and that's still likely to happen. And in this video, I'm going to show you why. And I'm also putting my money where my mouth is. Okay, and I think a lot of people, they expect like, hey, it's now going up, so it's going up only, up forever. Hey, sorry to disappoint you, but that's not how crypto works. I've been here a couple of times, and it's without looking at the charts, like you can feel it. You can feel the greed. You can feel the greed right now, and that's usually a very good selling indicator to me. So let's take a look at what the fuck these white lines are and why these white lines show exactly when to buy and when to sell. And in this case, when to sell, when I am selling at least half of my crypto bags. So let's study the magical lines that are gonna determine the future of my kids by throwing some lines over it. Now let's see. The white lines are the halvings, and we had the halving in November 2012. July 2016, May 2020, and coming in April 2024. After the halving, what you can see is Bitcoin always does fantastic. And this is the Bitcoin chart, but you can assume that the good altcoins will follow Bitcoin, but probably in larger steps, right? So this basically goes for the whole crypto market. After the halvings, Bitcoin explodes. After the halving, Bitcoin explodes. After the halving, Bitcoin explodes. Now, we only have 3 pieces of history when it comes to that. But 3 out of 3, right? It's not bad. So we have a pretty good chance that after this halving, crypto explodes. Whether it goes just to 100K, 200K, 400K, that's another video. Okay, that doesn't really matter. It's about the fact that it is going up and it could change our life. The thing, however, is that the exit point is just one thing to keep into consideration. Your entry point is, of course, also super important. Now, I have a lot of Bitcoin. I have some altcoins. I have mainly Launchpad coins. And over the last half year, I made well over 200, 300K, something like that. And you could feel like, yeah, I don't care really, but it is part of my strategy because with the money that I have, I do not need to take crazy risk to make a lot of money, right? Therefore, if you just play with $1,000 and you follow my strategy, yeah, you will probably not become a millionaire. Unless you are really following the Launchpad strategy, because that can actually do way better than you think. But I don't need to take crazy risk. However, I do want to get the most out of this, right? So what I'm looking at is the history. That's how crypto works, right? There's and stocks and everything in finance. By the way, charting. It's really it's a thing, right? TA works not for no reason. And out of the history that we have, there are a lot of similarities in every cycle. We have the top end of 2013, we have the top end of 2017, we have the top end of 2022, we have the bottom end of 2014, bottom end of 2018, bottom end of 2022. It's all so the same, like the 4-year cycle is so scary predictable. You can, so far, you could have really easy predicted the bottom and the tops. And so far, I feel like, okay, yeah, as long as that's intact, why the fuck would I say that the top won't be end of 2025, right? So let's make a new line right there. Let's put it on December. That could be anywhere end of 2025, of course, and let's make it green as it's all money, money, money. So this is where we top out probably, right? So how do we prepare now in order to get the most once we are here? Well, what I'm looking at is we are now before the halving, right? And what did we do so far? Well, we came down and we went up in a straight line, basically. Okay, is that what we always do? Well, we came down, we went up, we came down, and then we went up. Okay, cool. We came down, we went up, we came down, and we went up. Oh, 2 out of 3. Cool. We came down, we went up, we came down, we went up. 3 out of 3. Right? So also, if the 4-year cycle is so intact, and if you really believe in the 4-year cycle, then you have to believe in the move down, right? Otherwise, you're just gonna say like, yeah, no, everything is the same, but that's gonna be different. Why? Right? Because of the news. Like we had news here as well. We had news here as well. Like that's always the case. The chart does what the chart does anyway. So it's very likely that we will see a push down. So how far did we came down so far? And let's take an average out of that. So in the first cycle, we came down after we had that push up with 47%. Okay, fair enough. Next cycle, what did we do? After the push up, we came down 37%. Cycle after that, we came down, and this candle right here was because of a black swan. So let's take it from open to close, right? So open to close, 50%, right? Otherwise, it's more like 65 or something like that. But let's not assume that a black swan is gonna occur, right? Otherwise, you can always be bearish. That's nonsense. So what we have seen, like literally every single time so far in every same period of the cycle. So it's not a coincidence anymore. 3 times makes a trend. Is that we went down 50%. 40%, 50%. So what I'm expecting is that, let's stay positive, we will see a 40% correction, right? And again, it sounds bearish and a lot of people don't like it if I make that kind of content because they want it to go up. But if I look at again, if we look at the charts, we see the 4-year cycle is really playing out the exact same way every single time. But every single time we also got that second dump, right? So it would be really ignorant for me to say like, yeah, the 4-year cycle is going to be exactly the same except that dump, right? Because it just doesn't suit me. Like, nah, that's not how it works. Like, you first look at the charts and then place your position based on that. You do not place your position first and then just say like, nah, the chart is now going to do that because that's what I want, right? So, and hey, don't like, maybe in half a year you can come at me and be like, hey, you were wrong. It could be, but it's a matter of statistics and chances, right? If 3 out of 3 tells me, hey, it's going down, then it would be really stupid from me to now say like, yeah, no, this time it's not, right? Like, no, like all the odds are in your favor if you say that it's going down. So let's place some eggs in that basket, right? Would be weird if you don't. So let's say 40%. Okay, then it depends, of course, like, yeah, but from where, right? If we go, 40% down from here, or do we go down 40% from higher? So first, let's take a look as well, like, hey, from the bottom until the top, how hard were we ranging? So let's delete those. 40%, bye. We know now that 40%, maybe 50, but 40% is at least kind of the average, right? Let's take a look how hard we usually pump, so we can also get an average about where we might go this time, right? So the first cycle, we went up with 250%. Okay. The second cycle, we went up from the bottom to the top of that range before we crashed with 90%. And the third cycle, we went up with 345%. Well, so far diminishing returns, right? It could still like, it's quite funny. Like if I make a price prediction about Bitcoin, I get that a lot of people could say like, hey, you're way too bullish because diminishing returns. But yeah, here you go, right? This was also the hardest pump. Plus, we did not had institutions and ETFs back in these cycles, and that could definitely be a good case for Bitcoin to go to certain prices, which is like, if I think everybody expects 100K, right? Because that was the expectation for the last cycle, and we did not really get that. To talk a little bit about the price prediction, 100K would just be 44% from the previous top, right? Well, from this previous top, we went up with 240%. From this previous top, we went up with 1500%, right? So 44% would be like really low. Just to talk a little bit about price predictions anyway, but 250, 90, 350. So the average move of that is 230%, right? So if we take it from the bottom, and what we do on average, again, I'm not saying we will this time, but this is the average, so this is the best guess somebody can make, I think. The average move is 230%, so that would place Bitcoin at around $52,000. Right, that's what we can expect, and it lines up, right? It lines up because if you look at 52K, hey, it's exactly where we have major support here, resistance here, resistance here. It is 52K is a very big level. Okay, 52K really is a big level, and if we draw a Fibonacci tool, do we find something right there then as well? 0.618 comes in at $49,000, so that's not a huge difference. So 49, 52, somewhere in that area, right? So based on again the previous cycles so far, so let's say it like this: based on all the history that we have, Bitcoin on average should move to around $52,000. And then have a 40% correction. That's what always happens so far, right? So if we do that, and we have a 40% correction from that point, where does it take us? Exactly back to that $32,000 level that we should still retest. Fucking funny, by the way, it is. 32K. So that's, yeah, it's quite funny, but maybe it's not funny, but it's just like, hey, we have huge resistance right here, but we have huge support right here, and we didn't have to retest. But we are in such a momentum right now that I wonder, like, hey, are we now first going to retest it before we get to 52, or do we just blast straight to 52? I think the last, to be honest, 49.52. I think it could definitely be that we are sitting at some major resistance right now, by the way. So we really have to push it. But if we can keep this momentum, 52, give or take, is a decent level that we can run into. Then get a good rejection right there. Crash back to $32,000. Hover, do nothing for a while. And then after the halving, go parabolic. Right? And that will continue until end of 2025. That's kind of my expectation. So, again, it's not like that I'm saying like, hey, this is going to happen, so I'm going to place all my money on that. But it is that I'm saying like, hey, if we look at what we so far, again, did like every time, then this is the most likely outcome. So it would be unwise to not place some money on that. So what you can do, of course, is say like, hey, I already have a position and I'm good with it. So I'm going to hold on to it. And in the meantime, if it comes down, I'm going to maybe DCA some more if you have that, right? And then just ride the wave and you will do very fine. What you can also do, if you really believe in this, like, hey, we're going to like, we are so far exactly doing what we did last cycle. So I expect for the coming couple of months to also do the same. Yeah, then something like this is going to play out. And that's what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for the rally until, well, 48, 49, at least, because you could be wrong with a couple of K, right? I'm going to wait for that rally, sell a whole lot of my crypto positions, sell most of my, well, not most, but sell half of my Bitcoin, sell most of the altcoins that I have, and then, you know, wait and hope for the best, right? And if that happens, yeah, then you have a very good entry. Then you have a very beautiful entry, and there is a chance like that you know it runs, and that the cycle then says, okay, let's go do something completely different, and let's keep on running. It's now up only from now on, like I'm saying that laughing, like it's that of course doesn't work that way, but hey, what if it does? I'm not placing myself on the sideline. I'm always prepared. I'm not selling my launchpad tokens, so I can always make seed investments, private investments, pre-sales, etc. So the money that I have, yeah, it's not just being here dusting away as stable coin. I can always put it somewhere, so I don't have to sweat about that. But it's a big difference. Again, if you have $1,000 right now, right, and you, let's say we go to 200K. You make a 4.5x. Okay, nice. You have $4,500 right now. But if you have $1,000 right now and you ride it first here, you make 25%. You have $1,250. You ride it all the way back down. Invest that $1,250. Then go to 200K and you make a 6.5x on that. That's twice the difference, right? And for someone that's playing with more money, I can literally say like, okay, you know. If I do this with like $300,000, it's a matter for me. Like, okay, can I make $1.2 million or can I make $2.4 million, for example? Yeah, with these amounts, that's a difference that's worth it, right? If you play with just $1,000, then you might not want to trade it and take those risks and have the fear to miss out, because with $1,000 you also cannot really participate in these pre-sales, and that's my backup, right? So I don't ever have to worry about missing out on the market. But this is how I am going to play it. Now, again, it is very similar. Like I've made this kind of video for the Patreon as well. So people that are in the Patreon, there is a link down below where you can also follow Alex Becker's wallet, Elliot Trades, Hustlepedia, etc. So you can see what they buy. But I also made this video in the Discord, in the Patreon, and if you look at this is the stochastic MACD, by the way, that's not the right one. If you look at the stochastic RSI, yeah, it's kind of the same. You can all see like, hey, you want to confirm that this cycle is the same, like not just price wise. We know that price wise is doing the same thing, but the indicators are also the same, right? Right before the halving, the stochastic RSI is sitting in the overbought territory, right? Right before the halving, sitting in the overbought territory. Right before the halving, overbought territory. Right before the halving, overbought territory. So exactly the same when you look at the stochastic RSI. And if you now, for example, take a look at the usual RSI, the relative strength index, you can see, hey, right before the halving, we are sitting at around 60, right? We are getting there. Right before the halving, sitting around 60. Right before the halving, sitting around 60. Right before the halving, sitting around 60. It's all so the same. It's like I almost am scared to jinx it, but it's so fucking predictable. It is so predictable. And therefore I'm playing it like this. And I know people say like, yeah, if it's so predictable, it won't work. Well, so far over the last 13 years, it did, right? So who says it won't over the next over the next half a year, right? Like that would be like really fucked up. So that's how I'm doing it. Very quickly, by the way, for the people that follow the way that I'm investing, like I said, like, hey, I'm buying Bitcoin and not really altcoins. Made a lot of money on Bitcoin. Bitcoin is now almost sitting at a 3x. And, you know, I know altcoins, some altcoins are sitting at a 3x as well. But the difference is you took a lot of risk with that. And Bitcoin is so safe compared to every single altcoin out there. And you make the same returns. Like, come on. Plus, it's your dry powder, right? And we spoke about altcoins sitting quite low on their Bitcoin pair. And you can buy altcoins with your Bitcoin. Now, if you look at this, altcoins collectively, at least, only have to go down with 2%, and we are at the bottom. I will give away my YouTube channel if we don't get here. Like, we are so getting, like, this is also, we spoke about this earlier, how this is exactly the same as this, right? And therefore I'm selling, because in the correction that we will get, where Bitcoin might go back to 30K, altcoins are getting fucked, like hard fucked, right? Why do I say that? Well, because it was also last cycle that once Bitcoin started to get rejected, the Bitcoin dominance was going up. So Bitcoin was worth less, but altcoins were worth less against Bitcoin, which was already worth less against the dollar. So altcoins fell way harder, way harder. And that's what we still need to see in my opinion. Now, this shows it, right? Like Bitcoin is now sitting at $40,000, while the dominance is sitting at 50%, 54%, right? It's quite funny that the last time in last cycle, you can see it over here, where the dominance fell, right, was sitting at around the same level, but the dominance fell, came down, while Bitcoin was going down as well. And we are also exactly repeating this. Bitcoin runs, the dominance runs with it. At a certain point, Bitcoin goes down, but the dominance keeps on running. If that happens, again, then alts are in for some trouble. And I don't mean new lows necessarily. At least not on the dollar pair, on the Bitcoin pair, of course. But I mean very low prices, and that's where I'm actually very interested to buy back. And I think this is all going to happen within now and 4 months. I think the coming 4 months, I think December would be really maybe still bullish for Bitcoin. I first thought like, hey, this could be very bearish, but I think Bitcoin has some fuel left in it. And I think Q1 is going to be very bearish. And that's good, because that's if you want to make the most out of crypto, you want to get the best entries as well, right? And I think crypto is gonna give us the best entries. And like I said, like a lot of people on the channel, they sometimes listen half and they be like, oh yeah, you said don't buy altcoins, so I'm now on the sideline. yeah, but I also said, hey, I'm buying Bitcoin. And you didn't do that, apparently. Yeah, now altcoins are sitting at the bottom on the Bitcoin pair, right? So if you have Bitcoin, you can still buy altcoins at the bottom. So you don't, and in the meantime, you made 2-3x on Bitcoin as well. So you ride a double bull market, right? It's such a beautiful strategy. Yeah, and this will likely go down. So we can get altcoins like dirt cheap, dirt cheap. And then when the halving comes, then we are set, we are allocated, and we can fly. And that's how I'm going to play it. It's the most safe way because you are half of the bear market in Bitcoin, basically, or the complete bear market, depends on when you got in, right? You don't need to just throw your money on every altcoin dip, hoping that was the last dip. You're in Bitcoin, but it's also most rewarding because in the meantime you are making money with Bitcoin while altcoins are going down against Bitcoin, and later then, like said, converted Bitcoin into altcoins at the bottom, and then ride that wave. You kind of force the market to give you two bull markets. Yeah, so yeah, it's the most safe way, the most rewarding way. And again, I'm gonna see how December goes. Bitcoin is sitting at some major resistance, but if we break it above this 42K, give or take, maybe 43, then I think it is flight time to at least $48,000. And that could happen in one big ass green Shrek dick kind of candle where it all goes up, or it could just, happen quite stable, basically in the whole month of December, where we slowly grind up. But yeah, that the Bitcoin dominance is making new highs already. I like to see it because I was always saying like, hey, be careful with altcoins, and now we see it. Altcoins, new lows, beautiful. Even if they don't make new lows on the dollar pairs, we can still buy the lows right now, so that's cool. I want to wrap it up right here. It's been long enough. Sorry the video is a little later today, but it's what it is. Please like the video if you like the video. I hope it was valuable for you. If you haven't subscribed, feel free, join the family. I'm here every day. Yeah, whatever. Take care. Bye.